Have you ever looked at someone else's life and felt like yours isn't enough? Maybe you saw someone your age with more money, better looks, or a happier family, and suddenly, your own life felt small and disappointing. Why do we always feel like others are ahead and we're somehow left behind? Why does someone else's success make us question our own worth? Why does scrolling through social media leave us feeling less instead of inspired? Just imagine, two people start their mornings. One takes a peaceful walk, the other checks their phone and sees someone traveling the world. One feels calm, the other feels envy. Nothing changed in their own life, yet the feeling inside shifted so much. Why? Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where we bring timeless Buddhist insights into the modern world. If you've ever felt discouraged by comparing yourself to others, then this series is made for you. Here, we'll explore how the Buddha's wisdom can free us from this hidden suffering. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribe. So please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your one-click supports more peaceful minds out there. Comparison is an unseen thief. It sneaks in quietly, takes away our joy, and we don't even notice. Buddhism teaches that suffering often comes not from what we have, but from how we see what we have. When we compare, we don't see clearly, we project. We see someone's highlight and compare it to our worst moment. The Buddha reminded us to look inward. Your path is your own. No one has walked through your thoughts, your struggles, your growth. Comparing two completely different journeys only causes pain. When we compare, we are no longer present. We lose touch with reality and fall into illusion. Meditation helps bring us back to the now, where we are free from comparison, envy, and ego. In this series, we'll learn how to gently let go of the habit of comparison, not by forcing it, but by seeing it clearly. And in that clarity, peace becomes possible. The Buddha's first warning against envy. Sit down, my friend. Let your shoulders relax. Let your breath be soft. Today, I will tell you something that can quietly change how you see the world. In the early days of the Buddha's teachings, there were many who came to him with troubled hearts. Some were rich, some poor. Some were respected, some ignored. But no matter where they came from, many of them carried one hidden pain, the pain of comparing themselves to others. One young monk came to the Buddha and said, "Master, I don't understand. I've been practicing hard, meditating every day, following the path. But when I see other monks getting praise, or when I see others being more respected, I feel small. I feel jealous. Why do I feel this way?" The Buddha looked at him with gentle eyes and said, "This feeling you have is not yours alone. It visits every mind that clings to the idea of better or worse. You're not alone. But remember this, comparing yourself is like drinking poison and hoping to grow stronger. Yes, my friend, comparison is poison, and it is silent. It doesn't shout when it arrives. It slips in like a shadow. It hides behind smiles. It sits quietly in our hearts and tells us, you're not enough." The Buddha never said, "Don't notice others," but he said, "Notice yourself first. If your heart becomes heavy seeing another succeed, do not blame them. Do not run from that feeling. Just pause. Breathe. Ask your heart, what am I really seeking?" Sometimes we think we are jealous of someone's life, but we are only longing for peace inside ourselves. We think we want their money, their partner, their talent. But deep down, what we want is to feel whole. That wholeness never comes from outside. Let me tell you a small story. One day, two farmers were sitting by the river. One had many cows and land. The other had little. The richer farmer laughed and said, "Look at how much I have. What do you have?" The other farmer smiled and said, "I have peace in my heart. You need to keep counting your cows every day. I sleep well. Who tell me had more?" The Buddha warned, envy grows when we forget our own worth. Envy rises when we think happiness is limited, like slices of cake. But peace is not cake. It is not divided. When someone else is happy, it doesn't take away from our happiness. In fact, it can increase it if we allow it. You see, comparing is not only about being behind. Sometimes we compare to feel above others. That too is dangerous. When you feel, "I am better," you close the door of learning. You close the door of compassion. The Buddha never taught pride. He taught presence. In Zen, we often say, the flower does not think of competing with the flower next to it. It just blooms. This is not just a nice quote. It is a deep truth. Every being, like every flower, has its own time, its own season. When you compare your season to another's, you forget your own blooming. Maybe someone else has more wealth. But do they have your patience? Your kindness? Your quiet strength? Maybe they don't show their struggle. Maybe what you envy is only the mask they wear. Even great kings came to the Buddha feeling empty. Power outside means nothing if there's chaos inside. The Buddha didn't reject them. He showed them how to sit with their own hearts, how to listen to the silence beneath their desires. Comparison is like looking at the moon and feeling sad because the stars are brighter. But don't you see? The moon shines when it is full, and the stars twinkle always. They don't fight. They don't compare. They just exist beautifully. When you walk in a forest, do you ask the tree why it isn't as tall as the one next to it? Do you say the river should flow faster? No. You see the beauty in each. Why can't we do the same with ourselves? The Buddha taught, be a lamp unto yourself. This doesn't mean ignore others. It means don't lose your light trying to match someone else's. There's another story. A monk had a beautiful voice. When he chanted, people came from far away just to listen. Another monk grew jealous. He tried to copy the voice, tried to chant the same way. But he failed. His heart grew bitter. One day, the Buddha asked him, why are you trying to be someone else's echo when your own voice is waiting to be heard? This is important. You must understand. You have your own rhythm, your own flavor, your own place in this life. The Dharma is not a race. Enlightenment is not a trophy. It is a deep peace that comes when you stop running. In your daily life, when you feel that comparison rising, do not scold yourself. Just notice it. Smile at it gently. Say to it, I see you, old friend. And then return to your breath. Return to your own journey. Even when you walk slowly, if you walk with awareness, you are ahead of the one who runs without knowing where they're going. The Buddha's first warning against envy was not to shame us, but to free us. He wanted us to see that our suffering is often created by our own mind, our own thoughts, our own false ideas of what we should be. You're not behind. You are not less. You're simply where you are. And that is perfectly enough. Let others shine. Let them bloom. Your light will not fade. The sky is wide enough for all stars. So, sit with this truth. Let's settle. Let your breath remind you. There's no need to compare. There's only a need to be. And when that comparison tries to rise again, and it will, just come back to this moment, to your breath, to your truth. This is the path. Quiet, gentle, powerful. Walk it with open eyes and a peaceful heart. You're already enough, just as you are, understanding your unique path in samsara. Sit down, dear one. Let me tell you something that many people forget. You are walking your own path. It's not like anyone else's. Not your brother's. Not your friend's. Not even the person you admire most. Your path is shaped by your own steps, your own heart, and the winds of your own karma. In the long, endless wheel of samsara, this cycle of birth and death, you have walked through many lives. You have laughed as a king, cried as a farmer, and sat alone as a wandering monk. Who can say where your soul has traveled? And who can compare their path to yours, when even you don't fully remember where you've been? Now, people around you may seem ahead. One owns a car. Another has a perfect marriage. Someone is popular, someone rich. And you sit and wonder, why not me? But this question is like asking why a mango ripens in July while a plum ripens in May. Each follows its own season, its own nature. Buddhism teaches us everything ripens in its time. No sooner, no later. The suffering comes when we want what's not meant for this moment. The tree does not cry because it does not bloom in winter. Why do we? When you compare your path to someone else's, it's like reading the middle chapter of their book and thinking it's better than your whole story. You don't know what came before, and you don't know what storms they walk through when no one sees. Even they may not know. So breathe. You are not behind. You are not late. You are simply on your path. You may not be rich in coins, but maybe you're rich in patience. You may not be surrounded by admirers, but but maybe your heart holds peace others would give anything to have. I once knew a young student who cried every day. He told me, "Master, everyone else has found their way. I am lost." I told him, "The path is not lost. Only your eyes are closed." And over time, he opened his eyes. He saw that his journey was never wrong. It was just quiet. That quiet brought him wisdom others had overlooked. Samsara is not a race. There is no finish line. There is only learning. And the one who learns with presence and love is the one who grows, no matter how slow it may seem. Comparison distracts you. It takes your energy and throws it into someone else's life. That energy could have watered your own seeds, but you're too busy looking at another garden and wondering why yours doesn't bloom like theirs. The Buddha taught, tend your own garden. In time, it will flourish. Even a stone covered in moss has its beauty. Even a broken pot can hold water. Your value is not determined by speed, or numbers, or fame. It is determined by how awake you are, how kind you are, and how deeply you understand. Do you want to compare your life? Then compare it with how you were yesterday. That is the only fair comparison. Are you more patient, more mindful, more gentle with yourself? Then rejoice. That is progress. When you feel small, sit still. Watch your breath. One breath in, one breath out. That breath is yours. That peace is yours. No one can take it, and no one can give it. It arises when you stop looking out and start looking in. I tell you, a candle doesn't complain that the moon is brighter. It simply glows in its own way. You too must glow in your own time, your own shape, your own light. Samsara gives each of us different lessons. Some learn strength through loneliness. Some learn compassion through loss. Some are tested through poverty, others through fame. Everyone has their training. That's why comparing is like judging the fish and the bird by the same sky. There was once a monk who walked barefoot through the hills. People mocked him. Look at him, they said. So poor, so lonely. But that monk was rich beyond measure, in peace and awareness. And when he passed, the village mourned him as a sage. They didn't see his journey until the end, but he had seen it all along. Dear one, your life is sacred. Your troubles are not punishments. They are teachings. Your delays are not denials. They are preparations. Your quiet moments are not emptiness. They are space being made for something new. When you stop comparing, you start seeing. You see the beauty in the simple, the lesson in the pain, the joy in your very breath. That is where freedom begins. So when envy comes knocking, smile gently. Say, I'm not them, and that is not bad. Then return to your breath, to your practice, to your path. And remember this. Even if no one applauds your journey, the universe watches in silence and smiles. You're doing well. You're walking well. Just keep going. That is all. Karma in comparison, a misguided lens. Sit down, my child. Let me tell you something very old, very true, and very misunderstood. You often look at other people and feel something strange inside, don't you? Maybe a little jealousy, maybe a little sadness, maybe even a quiet voice that says, why not me? You see someone who has what you want, a better job, a bigger house, more attention. You look, and then you compare. And when you compare, you suffer. But you don't know where that suffering comes from. So let's talk about it today. Not with big words, but with clear eyes and a calm heart. Let's begin with a small story. There were two monks walking down a road. One monk had very fine robes, silk and gold. The other wore simple cloth, worn and patched. A young man saw them and asked the one in simple clothes, don't you feel bad? He has everything. You have nothing. The monk smiled. He walks his karma. I walk mine. That's it. That's the lesson. But to understand it, we must go deeper. You see, every life is shaped by karma. Karma is not punishment. It's not reward. Karma means cause in effect. What you plant, you harvest. Not always in this life. Sometimes in the next. Sometimes after many lifetimes. But always what you give out comes back. So when you see someone with great wealth or beauty or fame, don't assume their story is easy. Maybe they earned that condition in a past life. Maybe they carry hidden pain you cannot see. And when you feel poor, ugly, forgotten, maybe it's a karma ripening now, but one you will soon pass through. What happens when you compare your karma with someone else's? You are comparing two books written in different languages. You can't read their pages. You only see the cover, and yet you judge your own book by it. Isn't that strange? Let me ask you this. If two seeds are planted, one apple, one bamboo, will they grow the same way? Of course not. One grows fast, gives fruit quickly. The other grows slowly, silently underground for years, then shoots up suddenly. Is one better? No, they're just different. So why do you look at someone else's season and forget your own? Maybe your blessings are still under the soil. Maybe your roots are deep and your time is coming. But if you spend your energy watching another tree, you forget to water your own. Buddhism says, walk your path. Not his, not hers, yours. Your path was given to you for a reason. It has the exact lessons your soul needs. Even the hard parts, even the painful parts. These are not punishments. They are teachers in disguise. Now, I want to tell you something important. Something even some spiritual people forget. You do not know what karmic debts another person is paying. You do not know what hidden blessings you carry. The beggar on the street may be closer to awakening than the king in the palace. The one who suffers with patience may rise beyond the one who enjoys with pride. And you are right where you need to be. Yes, even with your struggles, even with your doubts. If you look deeply, these struggles are polishing your heart like a stone rubbed smooth by a river. When you compare yourself to others, you're using your eyes. But the truth cannot be seen by eyes. It must be felt by wisdom, and wisdom grows slowly like bamboo. The Buddha did not compare himself to others. Not before awakening, not after. He saw deeply into karma and knew that every being was walking their own unfolding path. Some fast, some slow, some joyful, some painful, but all valid, all sacred. So what should you do when jealousy or sadness arises? First, don't fight it. Just notice it. Say, I see you comparing mine. Then gently return to your breath. Bring yourself back to your life, your moment. Maybe you see a friend who just got married and you're still alone. You feel envy. That's okay. But look deeper. That person's karma includes joy. Yes, but also new responsibilities, new tests. Yours may include silence. Yes, but also deep inner freedom. Can you be with your truth without trying to change it? We practice not to avoid pain, but to understand it, to see clearly. And in that seeing, the pain becomes lighter. It doesn't trap us. It teaches us. So every time you catch yourself thinking, why not me? I want you to ask instead, what is this moment teaching me? That question is powerful. That question breaks comparison and invites wisdom. Some people are born into wealth. Some are born into war. Some face betrayal. Others are loved endlessly. All of it is karma. But karma is not fate. Karma is a river, but your choices are the paddle. You can change your path by how you respond. If you respond with jealousy, the river stays the same. If you respond with gratitude and awareness, you begin to shift, slowly but surely. And remember, karma is not just about your past. It's also about your now. Every thought, word, and action is a seed. Plant kindness. Plant truth. Plant patience. You may not see the fruit tomorrow, but one day, without warning, a tree will bloom inside your heart. That is the power of walking your own path. So next time you see someone shining, don't feel small. Bow to their light, then return to your path with steady feet. Your light is rising, even if you can't see it yet. Stay true, stay gentle, and most of all, stay awake. That is the Zen way. Suffering in secret, the illusion of others' happiness. Sit down, my dear one. Let's talk today heart to heart. You keep comparing yourself with others, don't you? It's not your fault completely. The world around you makes it very easy. Just one look at someone's photo, their smile, their perfect morning coffee, their success. Suddenly, you feel like your own life is not good enough. But do you know something important? What you see is never the full story. People suffer in silence. The smile you see may be hiding a storm inside. That beautiful vacation photo might have come after a night of tears. That person with the luxury car may be drowning in debt and loneliness. The world shows us polished surfaces, never the cracks beneath. And we, poor souls, fall for the illusion. Again and again. The Buddha understood this long before any phone screen or social media existed. He saw that humans suffer not just because of what happens to them, but because of how they believe others live better lives. He taught, the world is on fire with desire. Desire to be better, richer, more respected. But when you burn with desire to be like someone else, you also burn your peace. You forget your own joy. You forget your own worth. Let me tell you a little story, simple and true. There was once a man who lived in a small village. He was poor, but peaceful. One day, a traveler came through, wearing fine clothes and riding a horse. The traveler looked at the man and said, "You live in such a small hut? Don't you wish to have more like me?" The man smiled and replied, "You look rich, but your eyes are tired. I think I already have what you are still looking for." This is the thing. Happiness isn't always loud. It doesn't always shine. Sometimes it sits quietly in the heart of a person who needs very little. In Buddhism, we say, all beings want happiness and wish to avoid suffering. But we often confuse comfort with happiness. We think the one who has more is happier. But haven't you seen people with less who smile more? Haven't you met someone simple, who somehow carries great peace? The secret is this. They are not busy watching others. They are present. They are not fooled by appearances. And they know that everyone, even the one who seems perfect, has their own wounds. Comparison is born from misunderstanding. When you compare your whole life to someone's moment, it's like reading only the title of a book and thinking you know the full story. You don't know what chapter they are in. You don't know what battles they are fighting inside. Even kings cry when they're alone. Even stars fall from the sky. The path of life has twists and turns for everyone. So how can we judge by just one glance? Another teaching from the Buddha is this: do not be fooled by the outer form. The mind is the real master. What does it mean? It means peace or pain lives not in what you have, but in how your mind sees it. A peaceful mind in a small house is a greater treasure than a restless mind in a palace. Let us remember, most people will never show their deepest pain. They hide it behind achievements, smiles, even jokes. That is why, when you see someone doing well, don't let envy rise in your heart. Instead, silently bless them. Say, "May you be truly happy, and may I also be happy." This is called mudita in Buddhism. Sympathetic joy is the joy we feel for others' happiness. Not fake joy, not jealousy, but a deep wish that all beings find true peace. When you begin to feel joy for others without losing your own, something beautiful happens. You grow lighter. You stop chasing. You stop aching. You feel full just as you are. But this takes practice. The mind is like a wild horse. It keeps running to what if I had their life. It keeps dragging you into dreams and regrets. You must hold the reins gently. You must bring the mind back to your breath, your feet on the ground, your life. Say to yourself, this moment is mine. I don't have to trade it for anyone else's. Also, ask yourself, do you really know their full story? Can you see into their heart? If not, then why trust only the surface? Here's a gentle reminder from the Buddha. Envy and jealousy are like dust on a mirror. They stop us from seeing clearly. Every time you compare, more dust gathers. You lose your clarity. But through meditation, kindness, and awareness, the dust slowly fades. Sit in silence for a while today. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Ask, what do I really need to be happy? You might find the answer is already with you. Maybe it's in your morning tea. Maybe in your child's laughter. Maybe in the stillness when no one else is watching. The world is loud. It tries to tell you what you lack. But the Dhamma, Buddha's teaching, is quiet. It reminds you of what you already have. Let go of the noise. Let go of the need to compare. Walk your path slowly. Bless those ahead. Help those behind. But never forget, you are enough as you are. This is not just a nice thought. It is truth. A truth known by sages, monks, and wise ones across centuries. The one who stops comparing begins to live. Now, take a deep breath. Smile, and gently return to your own life. You're not behind. You're not lost. You're just walking your path, and that path is sacred. The role of ego in self-comparison. Sit down, breathe in gently, and listen, my child. You've been looking at others, haven't you? Seeing what they have, who they are, where they've reached. And then a little voice inside you whispers, why not me? That voice, it comes from a place deeper than the eyes. It comes from something older, something always hungry. That voice comes from the ego. Now, ego is a tricky thing. It hides your thoughts. It disguises itself as motivation. It says, work harder, be like him, be better than her. But listen closely, it doesn't care about peace. It wants one thing, to be seen as special, better, more important. The ego thrives on being more than someone else. But here's the truth. Ego always compares. That is how it breathes. When you see someone succeed, ego doesn't just clap. It starts a story, he did it. Why not me? When someone is praised, ego feels wounded. Even if that success doesn't take anything from you, ego feels like it lost something. Why? Because ego doesn't live in peace. It survives on separation. The Buddha saw this. He saw how suffering begins the moment we separate ourselves from others. When we say, me and them, better and worse, we step out of wholeness. Ego divides what was once whole. It makes the world into a race. But who are you really racing against? Let me tell you a story. A monk once lived in the forest, calm and happy. One day, a young man from the city came to him and said, Master, I want to be as wise as you. How long did it take you to get here? The monk smiled and replied, it took me many years, but I never once asked how far someone else had gone. I only walked my path. The young man frowned. But don't you ever wonder if someone is ahead of you? The monk said, when I look to the side, I stumble. When I look within, I walk with peace. That is what ego does. It makes you look sideways. Not forward, not inward. Now, think for a moment. When you feel jealous of someone's looks, money, partner, or success, what is that feeling really saying? It says, I want to be seen. I want to feel enough. And that's okay. Everyone wants that. But ego says the only way to feel enough is by being better than someone else. That is a lie. You don't have to be better. You just have to be you, completely and peacefully. Buddhism teaches non-self and anatta. It means the self we believe in, this big I that always wants more, is not solid. It's made of thoughts, emotions, memories. The ego is just a wave. You are the ocean. But we forget that. When the ego gets loud, we suffer. Because we start measuring everything. She has more followers. He earns more money. They're more attractive. But the truth is, no one's life is as perfect as it seems. People smile while carrying invisible pain. The more you compare, the more you forget your own worth. You are not a number, not your bank balance, not your achievements, not your social media likes. The ego will measure these things forever, but the soul, your deeper truth, does not care about any of it. It only wants stillness, kindness, truth. So what should you do when comparison arises? First, become aware. Catch the ego whispering. Don't push it away. Just say, I see you. That alone weakens its grip. Then, shift your attention. Look at your own path. Ask, what am I grateful for today? Gratitude softens the ego. It reminds you of your own blessings. Meditate. Sit quietly each day, even for 5 minutes. In silence, ego has no fuel. It survives on noise. Stillness is its enemy. Practice compassion. When someone succeeds, smile for them. Even if it hurts, let yourself be happy for them. This cracks the ego open. In that crack, light enters. Now let's go deeper. The ego wants to be special, not just happy. That's why it can't tolerate others doing well. But the Buddha taught that true joy is shared joy. Mudita, sympathetic joy, is one of the 4 immeasurables. It means being happy when others are happy. Isn't that beautiful? Imagine a world where your friend wins and your heart dances, where someone else shines and you feel no jealousy. That world exists within you. But the ego won't take you there. Only awareness will. Sometimes ego hides as sadness too. I'm not good enough. There's so much better. But this is still ego. It's still focused on I, me, mine. Even low self-worth is ego's trap. Because you're still making everything about you. Can you see? True freedom begins when you drop the I. Just be. No titans. No competence. No need to win. You're not behind. You're not ahead. You're simply here. And here is enough. A leaf doesn't compare itself to the flower. A river doesn't envy the mountain. Each flows in its own time. Why can't we do the same? Because ego whispers, you are not enough. But the Dharma shouts, you always were. Let that be your lesson today. Notice the ego, smile at it, then let it go, one breath at a time. And remember, the more you compare, the less you connect. But the more you accept, the more you become free. So walk gently, trust your pace, be kind to yourself. You don't need to win anything. You just need to come home to your own heart. That's where peace waits. And that, my child, is the way. Mindfulness as a shield against envy. Imagine you are walking through a busy marketplace. There are many voices, many sights, many colors. Some stalls shine brighter, some smells are stronger. It is easy to get distracted. Your mind jumps from one thing to another, never settling. This is how our minds often are: restless, busy, always comparing what we have with what others have. The Buddha taught us a way to stop this restless mind. This way is called mindfulness. Mindfulness means paying full attention to what is happening right now, inside and outside. It is like shining a bright light into a dark room, so nothing hides in the shadows. When we are mindful, we see clearly. We notice our thoughts when they begin to compare ourselves to others. Instead of getting swept away by envy or jealousy, we watch these feelings gently, without judging ourselves. We say, there is envy, and we let it pass, like a cloud floating across the sky. This simple act of watching our mind with kindness is powerful. It stops envy from growing. Envy needs our attention to grow strong, but mindfulness takes that attention away and places it on the present moment. You might ask, Zen Master, how do I practice mindfulness? My mind is always busy, full of worries and comparisons. The answer is simple, but requires patience. Begin with your breath. Take a slow, deep breath in. Feel the air entering your nose, filling your lungs. Then breathe out slowly. Do this again and again. When your mind wanders, gently bring it back to your breath. This is the first step to calming the restless mind. Once your mind is calmer, you will notice the moments when envy tries to enter. Maybe you scroll on your phone and see someone's perfect life. Instead of reacting, you pause and breathe. You see the feeling arise. There is envy, you say silently. And then you return to your breath. In this moment, something magical happens. You realize that envy is just a feeling, not a fact. It does not define you. It is like a wave on the ocean. It rises and falls, but the ocean itself is vast and steady beneath. Mindfulness also teaches us to appreciate what we have. When we are fully present, we taste the sweetness of small things, a warm cup of tea, the sound of birds, the feeling of the sun on our skin. These moments are gifts, often missed when our minds are lost in comparison. The Buddha said that craving and attachment cause suffering. When we crave what others have, we suffer. Mindfulness helps us see craving clearly. We recognize the craving and understand that it is not permanent. It arises and passes away. With practice, mindfulness becomes like a shield, protecting us from the sharp arrows of jealousy and envy. It does not mean we stop noticing others or their successes. Instead, we see them with a calm heart, free from pain. In the quiet space that mindfulness creates, we find peace. We find a happiness that does not depend on comparing ourselves to anyone else. We see that our worth is not measured by how we stand next to others, but by the kindness and presence we bring to each moment. There is a story told about a monk who struggled with envy. He saw other monks praised for their wisdom and felt small. One day, he sat quietly and began to watch his feelings without trying to push them away. Slowly, the envy lost its power. He discovered that peace is already inside him, waiting to be found. You too can find this peace. It begins with one breath, one moment of awareness. When envy comes, do not run from it or fight it. Greet it kindly. Watch it with your gentle mindfulness. Remember, the mind is like the sky. Sometimes clouds cover the sun, and sometimes the sky is clear and bright. Mindfulness helps the clouds of envy pass, revealing your true self, the clear, shining sky of your own heart. So next time you feel the sting of comparison, pause. Breathe. Notice the feeling. Let it pass like a wave. Return to your breath, your present moment. This is the way of mindfulness, a simple, gentle path to freedom from envy. Each day, with mindfulness, you build strength. You train your mind to rest in peace rather than wander in pain. You create space inside where no comparison can disturb your calm. This practice is not always easy. The mind is skilled at wandering. But each time you return to mindfulness, you plant a seed of peace. Over time, that seed grows into a strong tree with deep roots. Roots that hold you steady no matter how wild the storms of envy or comparison may be. In this way, mindfulness is not just a practice, it is a way of life. It teaches us to live fully in the present, free from the burdens of jealousy and doubt. So, walk your path with awareness. Watch your thoughts. Breathe gently. Protect your heart with mindfulness. And watch envy lose its hold. In the calm space you create, your true happiness shines brightly, no longer clouded by comparison, no longer shaken by other success. This is the freedom the Buddha offers, and this freedom is yours to claim. Compassion instead of competition. In the quiet moments of life, when you stop chasing and comparing, you begin to hear a deeper call within your heart. It is the call of compassion, not just for others, but for yourself too. Many people live trapped in a cycle of competition. They look at others and see rivals. They feel a push to be better, faster, stronger. This drive can sometimes create achievement, but more often it creates suffering. Why? Because competition looks outward and judges, while compassion looks inward and understands. Imagine two neighbors. One always tries to outdo the other. Each buys a bigger house, a nicer car, finer clothes. But inside, both feel empty, restless. Their minds are not at peace. This is the way of competition. It never ends. There's always someone better, always someone ahead. This restless chasing is like a wheel that never stops turning. The Buddha taught us a different way. Instead of seeing others as rivals, see them as fellow travelers. Just like you, they have hopes and fears, joys and sorrows. They are not enemies, but companions on the path of life. When you cultivate compassion, your heart grows wide and soft. You stop feeling the need to push others down to rise yourself. Instead, you wish for everyone's happiness, including your own. But how do we develop this compassion when our minds are filled with jealousy and envy? The answer lies in simple practice and deep understanding. First, start by recognizing your own pain. Sometimes we try to ignore our suffering, to appear strong or perfect. But the Buddha reminds us that suffering is part of being human. When you accept your own struggles with kindness, your heart naturally opens to the struggles of others. Think about how you feel when a friend is sad. You don't judge them. You feel empathy. You want to help. Why? Because you understand pain. You feel connected. This same feeling can be extended to everyone, even those you once saw as rivals. The more you practice this, the more your jealousy fades. It's replaced by warmth, by the wish that all beings be free from suffering. Compassion also helps you stop the endless cycle of comparison. When you see others as people, not as obstacles or standards to measure yourself against, you free your mind from judgment. There's a story told about the Buddha's disciple, Ananda. Once, Ananda saw two monks arguing over who was better at meditation. The Buddha gently told them, "Do not compare yourself with others. Instead, compare yourself with your past self. Are you growing in kindness and wisdom?" This simple advice contains great wisdom. Your true competitor is your own past self, not the neighbor, not the stranger online. As you walk your path, practice compassion by wishing for your own happiness and for the happiness of all beings. This practice breaks down walls built by fear and envy. When compassion fills your heart, the desire to compete fades away. You find joy in seeing others succeed, because their success does not take from you. Happiness multiplies when shared. Another way to cultivate compassion is through loving kindness meditation or metta. Sit quietly, breathe deeply, and silently repeat phrases such as, "May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I live with ease." Then extend these wishes to others. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. This simple practice transforms your mind. It weakens the grip of jealousy and comparison. It plants seeds of love and understanding. It's natural to compare, but it is not natural to suffer from it. When you meet your own heart with compassion, you dissolve the pain comparison brings. Compassion does not mean ignoring your own needs. On the contrary, it means caring deeply for yourself so that you can truly care for others. When you stop competing with others, you open space for connection. Instead of loneliness born from rivalry, you find friendship born from understanding. This connection is healing. It reminds you that you are not alone. Others also carry burdens, and together you can lighten the load. Think of compassion as a gentle river. It flows softly, touching every shore. It does not rush or demand. It embraces all it meets without judgment. Competition is like a dry desert. It dries the heart and leaves one thirsty. Compassion is the water that nourishes the soul. In life, you will meet many people who seem to have what you want. Instead of envy, try to feel compassion for them. Understand that their happiness is not a threat, but a blessing. This attitude shifts your whole experience. Instead of being caught in the storm of comparison, you find calm in the shelter of compassion. With practice, this calm becomes steady. It does not depend on outside circumstances. It is your inner refuge. You may wonder, but what if someone is truly better than me? What if I'm not good enough? The Buddhist teaching is clear. Comparing yourself to others only brings suffering. The only true measure is your own heart. Are you growing in love? Are you growing in kindness? That is your path. When your heart is kind, you shine your own light. You do not need to dim the light of others. In this way, compassion breaks the cycle of suffering caused by comparison. It frees you to live fully, joyfully, peacefully. Remember, compassion is a choice you make every day. It starts small with gentle thoughts. Over time, it grows until it fills your whole being. You become a source of peace not only for yourself, but for everyone you meet. This is the true power of compassion, stronger than competition, deeper than envy, and lighter than any burden comparison can bring. May your heart be filled with this compassion, and may it guide you away from the silent trap of comparison into the vast freedom of kindness and understanding. The Noble Eightfold Path and Self-Worth. Sit down, child. Take a deep breath. The world rushes, but here we slow down. Today I want to talk to you not about someone else, not about their wealth, their beauty, their status. Today I want to talk about you, your path, your steps, your peace. You have compared yourself to others, haven't you? You've looked left and right, wondering, am I behind? You've asked, why do they have what I don't? This pain, it's not yours alone. Almost every human carries it in silence. But Buddha gave us a way out, a path, a light. And that light is called the Noble Eightfold Path. This path isn't a rule book. It's not punishment. It's not competition. It's not here to tell you how much better others are. It's here to help you see how precious your own journey is. Let's walk through it slowly, one step at a time, like stepping barefoot on warm earth. Right view. This is where it begins. When you compare yourself to others, you're often not seeing the full picture. You are only seeing one small piece of someone's life. Right view is seeing clearly. It is understanding that all things change, that everyone suffers in their own way, and that craving leads to suffering. When you remember this, jealousy softens. You begin to see. They have their lessons, and you have yours. Right intention. This is the second step. What do you want from life? Do you want to prove yourself to others? Where do you want peace? When your intention is pure, not to impress, but to grow, your path becomes quiet and steady. Your heart becomes light. You're no longer running after someone else's shadow. Right speech. Oh, how often comparison begins with words. He's doing better than me. She's prettier. These words plant seeds in the mind. The more we say them, the more we believe them. Right speech is speaking kindly to others, but also to yourself. Say, I am learning. Say, I am enough for this moment. Say it often. Your mind will start to believe. Right action, this is where the body joins the mind. Don't wait to feel worthy before you act. Act kindly. Help someone. Water a plant. Clean your room. The actions you take shape who you are. Even small actions matter. They tell the universe, I am here. I am walking my path. Right livelihood. Many compare themselves by what they do for a living. He earns more. She has a better job. But Buddha said, do work that doesn't harm. Work that helps you sleep with a peaceful heart. If your work brings kindness to others, even in small ways, it is sacred. Even if the world doesn't applaud, the Dharma sees. Right effort. This is the fire inside. Not the fire of jealousy, but the fire of determination. Do not try to be better than others. Try to be better than your old self. Even if you take one mindful breath today, and you didn't yesterday, that is victory. Keep the effort gentle, but steady. Right mindfulness. This is the present moment. When you compare, your mind runs to the past or future. Mindfulness is returning home. Right now, I am breathing. Right now, I am safe. Right now, I don't need to be anyone else. Stay here. Stay now. Here, you are already complete. Right concentration, this is deep stillness. Focus on what matters. Let go of distractions. Let go of scrolling endlessly through other people's lives. When your mind stays with one thing, your breath, your tea, your steps, you realize how full life already is. No need to chase. So you see, the Eightfold Path is not a race. It's not a ladder to climb higher than others. It's a circle, a return, a coming home to your own heart. Let me tell you something simple. A flower does not compare itself to another flower. It opens because it must, because the sun is warm, because blooming is its nature. You, too, are meant to bloom in your own season. When you walk the Eightfold Path, you stop needing to prove anything. You stop needing to be seen by others. You become like the mountain, quiet, strong, and unmoved by passing clouds. Do you know what makes you truly beautiful? It's not what others see. It's what grows inside when you live with peace, honesty, and kindness. There's a Zen saying, when you look into the mirror of Dharma, you see no one else, only your true face. That face is not better or worse than another. It is just what it is, perfect in its truth. So, child, next time you catch yourself comparing, stop, breathe, say, I am on my own path. They are on theirs. May we both find peace. That is the heart of the Buddha. The world will try to pull your attention outward, to rankings, likes, followers, praise. But your peace lies inward. The Eightfold Path is your compass. Follow it, not to become someone else, but to become truly, softly, beautifully you. That is enough. Now close your eyes for a moment. Feel your breath. Whisper in your heart, I am walking the path. That is enough. That is enough. And slowly, you will believe it. Let's keep walking, quietly, together, breaking free from social expectations. Come sit for a while. Let me share a small story with you. There was once a young man who lived in a village. He worked hard, helped others, and lived a peaceful life. One day, his cousin visited from the city and laughed at his small house, his old clothes, and his quiet days. The cousin said, Why are you still here? You should earn more, dress better, and be something greater. The young man, who had once felt content, suddenly felt small. This is how it starts. Not with violence, not with force, but with doubt. A little voice inside whispers, You should be more. That voice is not always your own. It's often the voice of the world. People around you might not say it out loud, but they show it with eyes, with tone, with comparison. Society has many invisible signs. This is success. This is beauty. This is how you should live. And before we know it, we start running. Running not toward peace, but toward approval. But let me ask you this. Who made those rules? Who decided that wealth is more valuable than kindness? That a busy schedule is better than quiet peace? That being known is greater than being true? Buddhism says, no one can define your life except you. Even the Buddha did not ask anyone to follow blindly. He said, "Come and see for yourself. Truth is to be discovered, not obeyed." So now, let me ask you, how much of your life is truly yours? How much of what you chase each day is because someone else once told you it's important? You see, social expectations are heavy. They push you into shapes that don't always fit you. They say, be strong, be smart, be successful, be better than others. But these are chains, not goals. A Zen Master once said, "The biggest prison is the mind that wants to please everyone." When we live to satisfy others' views, we forget our own hearts. We lose connection with the quiet truth inside. That truth is always simple. It says, "I am already enough." Not enough for awards, not enough for applause, but enough to be free. Now here's a secret. Society never rests. Once you meet one expectation, it will create 10 more. You get a job? It says, "Now get a better one." You buy a car? It says, "Now buy a bigger one." You lose weight? It says, "Now fix your face." It never ends. So why listen? Do you know what happens when you stop listening? At first, it's uncomfortable. You feel guilty. You feel behind. You feel lazy. But then something strange begins. Peace visits you. Slowly, quietly, it sits beside you and says, "You're doing just fine." That's the moment the Buddhist spoke of, when you stop chasing shadows and start sitting with what is real. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha says, "There's no fire like passion, no grip like hatred, no net like delusion, no river like craving." Expectations feed our craving. Craving for validation, craving for praise, craving to be seen. But none of this brings peace. The more we seek from others, the more we lose ourselves. Let me offer you a simple image. You're walking a path through the forest. There are many other people walking too, some faster, some slower, some on horses, some barefoot, some laughing, some struggling. But their path is not yours. Your steps matter. Your view matters. The trees you notice, the birds you hear, these are yours alone. Why compare your walk to someone else's run? When we chase society's version of success, we forget how to walk in silence. We forget how to enjoy the sun on our face. We forget to breathe. Zen is not about doing more. It's about doing less, but with presence. One breath, one moment, one decision that is your own. Now you might ask, "But Master, how do I stop caring what others think?" It begins with watching your own mind. Each time you notice yourself thinking, "What will they say?" Pause. Ask instead, "What does my heart say?" This doesn't mean you become selfish. True freedom isn't about ignoring others. It's about being so rooted in your truth that you can serve others without losing yourself. When you act from truth, your kindness becomes real, not forced, not performed. You smile not to be liked, but because joy overflows. You help not to be praised, but because compassion guides you. You rest not because the world allows, but because your soul needs it. This is the way of the Buddha. Not rebellion, not submission, but clarity. He left the palace. He left comfort, not because those were bad, but because he saw they weren't true for him. That is the courage we must practice. And yes, it is a practice. You may fall. You may compare. You may try to impress. That's okay. Just return, gently, like the breath returns after every distraction. Sit, breathe, be still. You are not your job. You are not your income. You are not your likes, your followers, your titles. You are the awareness behind all of that. You are the calm space from which joy rises. Walk slowly. Speak honestly. Love deeply. These are not social trends. These are eternal truths. So next time someone tells you who you should be, smile gently. Thank them in silence. And then return to your own path. The world may not understand. That's all right. Even the Buddha was misunderstood. But peace understands everything. Gratitude practice to end the cycle of comparison. Sit down, my dear one. Sit quietly for a while. Listen not just with your ears, but with your whole heart. Today, I want to speak to you about something very old, very soft, and very powerful. It is something you already have, but you might have forgotten it. It is called gratitude. Yes, gratitude. A word so simple, yet so deep. It is like a tiny seed that can grow into a tree tall enough to shelter your mind from the burning sun of comparison. You see, the mind is a restless thing. It keeps looking outward. It sees someone else's house, someone else's job, someone else's body, and it whispers, "Why not me?" That little voice, always comparing, always wanting, always wishing, it never lets you rest. But if you take that same mind and gently turn it inward, something magical happens. If you ask your heart, "What is already here?" you will feel the answer rise up quietly. The food on your plate, the roof above your head, the friend who smiled at you, the breath that is still flowing, the heart that is still beating. That is gratitude. That is awakening. In the Buddhist time, there were kings and beggars. Some had everything, some had nothing. But even the poorest monk, who walked barefoot with an empty bowl, smiled. Why? Because he knew the truth. Happiness doesn't come from comparing, it comes from appreciating. Gratitude is not a trick. It is not pretending everything is perfect. It is simply noticing that life has already given you much. The sun shines on you whether you are rich or poor. The trees don't ask your status before giving shade. The wind doesn't check your achievements before touching your face. Life is generous. But are we watching? Comparison is like drinking salty water. The more you drink, the thirstier you get. But gratitude is like cool spring water. It satisfies deeply. When you compare, you see what you lack. When you are grateful, you see what you have. Let me tell you a small story. Once a young man came to me and said, "Master, I feel so behind. My friends are married. They have jobs, children, houses. I have nothing. I am ashamed." I asked him, "What did you eat today?" He said, "Rice and vegetables." "Was it warm?" I asked. "Yes, it was fresh." "And where did you sleep?" "On a mattress in my room." "Were you safe?" "Yes." "Then," I said, "you have food, warmth, safety, and peace. Why do you think you have nothing?" He looked at me with tears, not because I told him something new, but because I reminded him of what he had forgotten. You see, when we stop and notice what is already here, the mind begins to settle. The storm calms. The hunger fades. The eyes soften. Gratitude is not a luxury. It is the root of peace. Now let's speak simply. What can you do to feel grateful truly? Start small. Each morning, before you rise, ask yourself, what do I already have? It could be your breath, your sight, your mother's voice, a memory, anything. Next, speak it out loud or write it. I'm grateful for this bed. I'm grateful for the cool breeze. Do not wait for big miracles. The small ones are already around you. Then, each night, before you sleep, ask again, what gave me peace today? Even if the day was hard, there's always one moment, a laugh, a kind word, a sunset that can be honored. Gratitude is not just for monks. It is for workers, for mothers, for students, for everyone. When we are grateful, we don't need to prove anything. We don't need to win. We don't need to be better than anyone. We just are. And when we are, in full presence, life becomes enough. But listen carefully. Gratitude does not grow where there's hurry.